Prasida needs to be made co-host. Okay. Let's get started. Good evening, all. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Vaidya. I'm part of the team that runs Opencity.in, an urban data platform. Opencity is an urban data commons to make public data easily accessible to everyone. As most of you would be aware, Opencity, in collaboration with the BBMP Climate Action Cell and WRA India, supported by A3, conducted a Datajam on the topic of addressing urban heat in Bengaluru on the 3rd of August. We'd like to thank the Climate Action Cell and BBMP for providing the venue and logistics for the event, as well as sharing important datasets for the Datajam. During the event, participants as part of 4 teams analyzed the situation of heat and adaptability to heat in different parts of Bengaluru. Today, the teams will present their outputs, and take you through what they found. With us here today are, we are very happy to have Ms. Preethi Gehlot, IAS, Special Commissioner, APCC Wing, BBMP and Chairperson, Bengaluru Climate Action Cell, join us. The Climate Action Cell was constituted to facilitate and spearhead implementation of the Bengaluru Climate Action Plan as a multi-stakeholder-driven collaborative process. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. Mr. Vijay Kumar Haridas, Chief Engineer Lakes of BBMP and Member Secretary of Bengaluru Climate Action Cell, is also with us today. From WRI India, we have Ms. Srimoi Bhattacharya, Program Head, Urban Development, Sustainable Cities and Transport, Ms. Prasida Mukundan, Senior Program Research Associate, Urban Development, Sustainable Cities and Transport. WRI India has been the knowledge partner to BBMP in preparation of the Bengaluru Climate Action and Resilience Plan and has been providing knowledge support to the Bengaluru Climate Action Cell. From A3, we have Dr. Milind Banyan, who is a forest ecologist with research interests in invasive alien species, landscape ecology, and restoration ecology. Through his research, Milind promotes using open source and open access platforms and data, citizen science, and applied research that addresses societal challenges. Dr. Manan Ban, who works on advancing sustainable land use for climate action and human well-being, both within and outside cities. His work focuses on urban heat stress adaptation and advancing nature-based solutions. Ms. Meera K, Managing Trustee of Urwani Foundation, whose initiatives are Citizen Matters and Opencity. Urwani Foundation aims to enable citizens to define what issues are important to them, exchange knowledge and strategies on civic organizing, and come together to both demand and create change. Before we begin, I'll hand it over to Prasida Mukundan of WRI India to give a brief context on the problem statements and how they were chosen. Over to you, Prasida.
Thanks, Vaidya. Good evening, everyone. Let me just share my screen to quickly take you through the context. I hope my screen is visible. Yeah, so I'm sure that that most of you here are aware that the Bengaluru Climate Action and Resilience Plan was launched last year during November, and one of the major sort of findings from the BCAP document, that's Bengaluru Climate Action and Resilience Plan, was that urban heat is one of the major climate hazards that the is going to face, and we've already started experiencing this. The summers this year was sort of corroborating or supporting the statement, and the temperatures. We know that this year the recorded highest temperature had crossed 41 degrees Celsius in Bangalore, and heat wave alerts have been issued for the Bengaluru urban district. So that's where we are. And just to give you a context of what urban heat islands are, and I'm sure most of you here are aware about it. So city area, the core urban areas have slightly higher temperature compared to their rural or lesser urban areas in their surroundings. So this phenomenon is called as urban heat island, and there are studies which says that this urban heat island effect can have up to 2 degrees Celsius of increased heat in the city areas, which will affect the city's adaptive capacities and make them prone to risk. Now, what is happening? Why does this urban heat island effect happen, or why do cities get heated up? So there are different studies which suggest different reasons. So there are some studies which suggest that limited vegetation can be one of the reasons. Heat absorbing properties of concrete and other urban infrastructure building materials could be one of the reasons. The way how buildings are placed could result in heat trapping in between them. Anthropogenic activities could be reasons to it, and there are many other reasons to it. So now what is happening, or what will happen? What are the impacts of this increased urban heat? It could affect the health of citizens. It could affect economy and productivity, livelihood of people. It could result in increase in energy demands. It could disrupt your services of the city. So there are multiple impacts to it, and urban poor are one of the major sections of the society who will face severe consequences of it due to their higher vulnerabilities. Now to give you a context of what BCAP has done. So BCAP has done city level analysis, which include analyzing various indices, including land surface temperature. This is the map that you're seeing on land surface temperature. BCAP has also done analysis on socio-demographic parameters, adaptive capacity, etc. But the scope of BCAP was at a city level, more macro level. And this particular map that you're seeing on the screen is the LST map. And it's very evident from this LST map that it's the peripheral areas of the city which are having higher land surface temperature when compared with the core area. And one of the reasons for this could be availability of larger green spaces in the core city like Cubbon Park or Lal Bagh. Then further evidence needs to be generated here to understand or analyze what are the factors responsible for this differential LST when you go at a micro level, when you go at a neighborhood level or a ward level. So only if you understand what are these different factors responsible for heat at local level, only then localized actions could be suggested to tackle those. So through this Datajam, the idea was to understand what are those to have this granular understanding of what are the causal relationships which are leading to differential heat at a local level. So that's sort of the problem statement which was given to all the participants. And then based on a BCAP analysis, we had selected few wards in the city which were having higher land surface temperature, and also based on several other characters, we had selected few wards and with different characters. For example, some wards with higher industrial areas, or some with more residential characters. So there was a mix of criteria which was selected to count to few wards, and these wards were shared with the participants or with the teams of Datajam, and then each of these teams selected one ward from that lot, and then they went deeper or delved deeper to understand what are these causal relationships within that word. So that is the context of this Datajam, and I'll stop here. Thanks.
Thank you, Prasida. You can stop sharing. Yeah. Before we begin the presentations, I'd like to invite Preethi ma'am to share a few words. Over to you,
ma'am. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for organizing this today. And we all of as introduced by the team, we did the Data Jam event in the month of July, and now it's August, so all the data scientists and the analysts who had come and participated in the event, they needed some time to analyze the data which was provided to them, and today that is why today's uh, webinar which we are doing. So the basic idea is to understand what is the basic reason behind the rise in temperature of Bengaluru. On the face of it, we can say several reasons like global warming or increasing urbanization, increasing concretization, but we really need to have pinpointed reasons area wise on how in order to understand what exactly are the reasons area wise, and accordingly if we can plan something, plan futures, developmental projects accordingly. So the entire idea was this only. And also we have to understand that how do we leverage the available data, because we have so much of data with our departments, outside the department. So many expert organizations are working in the same area, but we are not able to take advantage of the data available with us. So how do we understand, how do we leverage that data for future planning? This is also one of the important aspects of urban planning and future planning when it comes to climate related resilience action which we have to take in future. So the climate action cell, which is constituted lately, is trying to tap onto all those potential partners and all those potential areas where we can understand and also disseminate this information to all the departments, citizens, academicians, and all the people who are interested in this subject on how to actually what is really going on. Because superficially we can all see that it's happening because of climate change and all that, but how do we specifically address the issues related to Bangalore? How do we address the issues related to Bomanhalli or Mahadevpura or Jayanagar? So, in order to understand all those things, we need to look into a lot of data. We need to understand uh, comprehensive. We need to understand how to see, look at things in a comprehensive manner. So, this is also one of the initiatives and one of the attempts which is being made by the Climate Action Cell in coordination with WRI and Opencity. So Mr. Vaidyaji also anyway gave the introduction. So this is so today uh, we are not just discussing it among our close group, but we have also made this open to public, and we have also invited them so that they can also understand the details of what is going on. So let's get started. Thank you, Vaidyaji, for organizing this.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll share my screen now. Is my screen visible?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So we'll begin the presentations with Team Resilient Urbanists, who will be represented by Devika AJ. Devika is an architect and an urban planner who recently graduated from the School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. She works with Janagraha on the municipal finance team. Over to you, Devika.
Good evening, everyone. I'm representing our team, Resilient Urbanist. So Vaidya, can we go to the next slide? So to better understand the scenario in the Penia industrial area, we conducted a comparative analysis involving 4 other wards. We selected 1 ward adjacent to Penia and 3 other wards with similar areas to assess the impact of construction types on the urban heat island effect. So in conclusion, Penia has the lowest street to person ratio and the lowest residential built-up area among the 5 selected wards. Can we go to the next slide? At the same time, it exhibits the highest temperature difference compared to the other wards. And next slide, please. We have also examined land surface temperatures, finding that areas with water bodies tend to have lower temperatures. Next slide. However, as shown in the image, Narsapanhalli Lake, once a beautiful site surrounded by wetlands, have suffered severe pollution from industrial effluents over the years. This contamination has also affected the groundwater quality. So the current threats to the lake include undefined boundaries, construction of buildings adjacent to the lake bed, and the dumping of solid and industrial waste. These factors can contribute to higher temperatures, especially when water levels are low due to contamination, leading to the release of greenhouse gases. Additionally, as shown in the graphs, we have analyzed household types, roofing materials, and cooking fuels used in Penia, and we found that 35% of homes have roofing materials vulnerable to urban heat, and 30% use cooking fuels that generate internal heat. And notably, 45% of the population in Penia comprises women who are more susceptible to heat hazards, and 10% belong to marginalized communities. Next slide, please. it's shown in these graphs, and these are our findings, and these findings have led to several recommendations. Next slide, please. So the recommendations include increasing the LPG consumption among residents, implementing green roofs, painting roofs with lime-based whitewash, and cleaning up of Narsapanahalli and Shivapura lakes while protecting the surrounding wetlands. So these are our findings and the recommendations. Thank you from our team.
Thanks, Devika. Ma'am, would you have any remarks on this, on the presentation, on the findings?
So yeah, thank you, Ms. Devika. Actually, I forgot to mention. So when we do data analysis, it's not just the future developmental projects, but little small lifestyle changes which we can bring in at a household level, and what are the policy changes which we can bring in to promote all these things. So these are small suggestions, but pretty effective, and we need to take care of all these things. So thank you for the suggestions, and we'll see how we can take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Also, I have a request if all the participants can also mention the data which they have referred to, and also what additional data would have actually helped them get better outcome, better analysis and all. So if you could mention that also, we can at least take care of all these things when we go ahead with it in future.
Devika, you want to add to that?
We have used the census data. It is not updated. So that was one of the limitations. And then we have used data from BBMP and a study on river by ISC. So these were the data we have taken.
Thanks, Devika.
Vede, can I just add one thing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so just wanted to add, like, these are all based on the Census of India data that was collected from 2011. A lot of it might have changed in the recent past. So that is also one of the limitations of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Vaibhav. Okay. I think we can move on to the next team. Yeah, for Maria for the next team, we have Team Sandal Soap Factory, who are represented by Atira TJ. She works as a data analyst at Reap Benefit Foundation, Bangalore. She's exploring ways to combine data-driven insights to create impactful user experiences and drive meaningful decisions. Over to you, Atira.
Thanks for the intro, Vaidya. Good evening, everyone. I'm Atira, and I'm representing Team Sandal Soap Factory. In the analysis of urban heat in Bangalore, what we focused was understanding the causality between some of the physical parameters, especially the building roof material and the environment itself. And what we chose was Mariyappampalaya, which is in Yeshwantpur. Based on our problem statement, we divided the approach into basically two parts. Like one was like the site analysis, site observation itself, where we divided this Mariyappampalaya ward into three different portions, as you can see in the image. Like one was the marketplace and the commercial area, which comes near the Malleshwaram. And if you look at the north, it's the location near the Pinia industry. And if you come to the south, you can see like there is a residential area covering the Nandini layout and Mahalakshmi layout, and to the industrial area, which then later redeveloped area near the Rajaji Nagar. So in the site observation, we actually also went through the Google Maps street view and to understand the area, because this is the first time people are seeing the area, to understand the in the 2 kilometer square area, how is the roads looking, how is the construction. The Google Map showed us the past recent 2-year difference observation of the area. And the other approach was to do a spatial analysis to understand the green cover of the area. Vaidya, can you please go to the next slide? green cover of the area and the land surface temperature itself. So for this, we used the Landsat 8 dataset and mapped the temperature as well as green cover. Vaidya, can you just click on the next? Click one. So when we map this both the green cover as well as the land surface temperature, we could see the Mandi area of the ward has the higher temperature. When we went through some of the articles in the internet, we could also find that this Mandi area and also through the Google Maps, we could find that the Mandi area was like purely concrete area where these farmers used to dry their crops. And if you look at the southern part of the area, which is much cooler, the temperature is low as 32 degrees Celsius, where the residential area of Nandini layout and Mahalakshmi layout comes in. Vaidya, please, next. So the next parameter we looked at was the surface temperature variance with the building roof material. This data we just like how Devika represented, we also took from the census data of 2011. But here as well, we can see like about 75% roof materials are concrete and about 20% are metal or asbestos sheet, which can actually increase the temperature of the building roof. Vaidya, can you just click on the next? So to parallel to this, the spatial analysis approach was to try mapping the building roof material of some of the buildings. So you can see the white marked here are the concrete rooftops, and the red marked here are the metal or asbestos. And if you see when we are like mapping this with the surface temperature, you can see the residential area are mostly concrete, which already has shown has the lesser temperature, and the commercial area and the Mandi area has like the highest temperature. So to support this analysis, we also looked at the guidelines of energy efficient and thermal comfortable public buildings in Karnataka, the report, and we could find that how the outdoor thermal temperature, which we could actually do the analysis, lead to the indoor increase in temperature and could cause discomfort. As you can see, the report says that comfort analysis of the Bangalore shows like 44% of total hours people were experiencing this thermal discomfort. Yeah, next. So the next steps for this analysis would be like the mapping we did for the building roof material was actually manual. So, and it was for a single ward, so it was doable. But if we could actually find a way to actually map the building roof material for say for the city and their Bangalore, then it would be actually helpful for us to understand how this correlation actually comes into place. And one another thing would be to also see the vulnerability not only of the physical factors but also the economic factors based on and also the social factors like caste, etc. So yeah, that's all about this analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Athira. Ma'am, would you have anything to say about this? Any remarks?
Thank you, Athira. I think this was also really good to look at. But I think there is a lot of limitations when we talk about the availability of data. But still, it gives us some sort of a picture about what is going on, and need to build up on that. So we'll see like how the other presentations are.
Thank you, ma'am. Move on to the next presentation. Next, we have Team Garuda, represented by Sharad Narayan. Sharad is an architect, urban designer, and academician. He has a keen interest in tactical urbanism and data-driven urban solutions. He has most recently led the ward-level study and documentation in Garudachar Palya through his position as a faculty of architecture. Over to you, Sharad.
Good evening, everyone. So, like Vaidya just said that we did a an urban design studio, which was basically one part of Gardacharpalya water, and it just took into consideration Gardacharpalya village and the immediate surrounding areas next to it. And that was only a 1.5 kilometer square, 1.5 square kilometer area. The entirety of Gardacharpalya ward generally follows the same trend in terms of its built composition, the kind of street layouts, etc. So we have nearly 6.8 kilometers in terms of the area of the ward itself. And so the oldest part of this site is the centrally located Gardacharpalya village, and some of the other villages here are Hudi, Sitarampalya, and Nallurhalli. Now, a large quantum of this development has occurred with the ITSEZs as the focal point. So the density of spaces is quite, there's a greater density of spaces around the SEZs, and the Brigade Metropolis and Prestige Shantiniketan, all of these are direct responses to the kind of IT boom that has happened in and around this area. And the phase 2 of the Purple Line metro, Nama Metro, has 8 stations which occurs along the occurring within this area itself. Next, please. So to give you a basic understanding over here, what we have here is the land use map, which is generated from the QGIS from the QGIS maps. And what we see here, the brown regions over here are largely the residential areas. Then you have the commercial areas, which are indicated with our yellow, and we have the bus stops, which are we looked at it purely from the idea of how does one transit through these spaces over here, because most of our transit lines are restricted towards the periphery and not towards the internal areas. So next slide, please. So we have Phoenix Market City and KTPO Convention Center, which is our which are our primary commercial hubs here. Then residential, which is basically your Brigade Shantiniketan and Brigade Metropolis and Prestige Shantiniketan. We have industrial establishments with Bhoruka Steels and the Southwest Railways goods yards. Then you have institutions occurring in and around this area. With Goshala, we have Gopalan institutions and Satya Sai Hospital. Then finally, we have the Kadagori Tree Park. This becomes a little key over here because it will play into the final observation that we made of this area. Now, using ESA sources from 2021, we were able to identify that the built-up area in this ward is nearly 4.76 square kilometers, and in comparison, tree cover is around 1.1 square kilometers, and most of it is restricted to private campuses over here. Most of these, the tree cover over here, we don't see a lot of it towards the roadsides. It does not aid in shaded spaces for people to circulate up and down these areas. Next, please. So we have the NDBI and the NDVI over here to identify exactly what are density, what is the density of built-up spaces in different areas. If you notice the portions which is closest towards the left-hand side of the screen over here, and yes, right there. That is the region which has the greatest density in terms of the built-up area. In a corresponding manner, towards the bottom over here, you would see the least density of vegetation cover. So if we go by URDPFI guidelines, it recommends nearly 10 to 12 square meters of vegetation per person over here. But as per the maps which are being generated over here, we see only 0.04 square meters, which is critically low. And it almost directly translates into the kind of heat island effects that we see in this area. Can we go to the next slide, please? So using the Landsat temperature satellite data from Landsat, we were able to identify that we were able to identify that these regions over here are anomalously heated up, especially this area over here. This is an anomaly. We will come to it in a moment. And the second area over here, the other areas that we see here are this critical belt in this area, and most of the other regions that we see are across closer to the primary circulation paths over here in this direction over here. Right, can we move to the next one, please? So if you notice, in each one of these we were able to isolate a few images to indicate exactly what is happening over here. This region is highlighted as the KTPO Convention Center over here. It is an anomaly because there is a certain amount of green cover over there, but it does not stop surface heating since the plantation is not even, and there is this kind of uneven spread of tree cover over here. It seems to have created an created a spike in the surface temperature in this region. Next, please. The next region over there is near Sitarampalya. So that is again highly densified, and it can we just go back for a moment to the visual? Yes. So it has high densification over there and a lot of barren area which has been left unplanted. So again, surface temperature, there's a lot of surface area which is left exposed to heat over there. So it automatically heats up, and as a consequence, it transfers the heat to the surrounding areas as well. Next slide, please. The third area over here is opposite to the KPTCL substation, the receiving station over here. Again, there's a lot of construction activity which happens over here, and that is, in part responsible for the amount of heat that is generated here. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is the interface of the bus stops and the green cover and road networks over here to observe walkability. So I took the reference of this point over here in the middle, where this is Gopalan Group of Institutions, which was my former workplace. And from there, we consider the first radii of 500 meters, the next radii of 1 kilometer, and the final radii of 1.5 kilometers. So we considered it at three stages over here, and we try to observe the kind of tree cover that we would be able to see here. So as an urban design standard, the general idea is that you should be able to reach a bus stop by at least 750 meters, 500 meters to 750 meters. So firstly, that thing itself is a problem where you're not reaching a bus stop until at least 1.5 kilometers. The second problem is what we will see in a moment. Next slide, please. So I did a small little analysis of the kind of images that we will be able to see when we consider this area here. Largely, you have narrow streets with not many walkable spaces over here. So automatically what happens is that there are a lot of vehicles which get clustered into this area, and as a consequence, you don't have any tree. There's no tree cover on either side of the streets over here. So automatically it creates a situation where everybody is in suffering direct exposure to the sunlight over here. So this automatically creates these isolated heat islands, especially in this channel over here. Okay. The final thing that we were able to observe here, no green spaces within this ward at all. There are literally no green spaces over here, as in public parks. So all the dots which are indicated on the screen to you over there are public parks which are located in other wards right next to this. With the focus being exclusively on the construction and the built development of this area, essentially what has happened is lung spaces are completely missing. And we shouldn't be looking at lung spaces as exclusively those which occur next to lakes over here. Also, public spaces which people can access at all given points of time. Next slide, please. So again, if we were to increase the green cover across the roads and the bus stops, there would be greater circulation. Again, the parks was another point that we were able to observe. Walkability was another major sore point over here. We increase the green cover and it will enhance the walkability and safety aspects here. And a more comprehensive solution to improve public transport coverage within the denser areas and last mile connectivity with community support has to be envisioned for this area specifically. At least if this area can be considered as a template, you can try to replicate it in other areas as well. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Sharad.
Yeah.
Ma'am, you have any quick remarks before we go to the final presentation?
Thank you, Sharad. This was really, really interesting. Now, the insights which you have shared, we have to think how to make it possible. But thank you for the presentation which you made.
Thank you, ma'am.
For the last presentation, we have Team RCB represented by Shabrinath. Shabrinath is a geographer and urban researcher currently working as a research associate at Hyderabad Urban Lab. He holds a master's degree in geography and is an urban fellow from the Indian Institute for Human Settlements. His research primarily focuses on urban heat dynamics and their multifaceted impacts across various domains. Over to you, Shabri.
Thanks, Vaidya. Good evening, everyone. I will keep it very short. So our study area was Shivaji Nagar as a ward. The reason why we selected that ward because some of us already had some experience doing some research there, around Shivaji Nagar, around Pottery Town, and such and such. So we actually took the approach of HRV framework, which is the hazard, risk, and vulnerability approach. So our problem statement was how do specific socio-economic activities contribute to the UHI, which is very specific to Shivaji Nagar. So we sort of took our analysis and everything into Shivaji Nagar, and we wanted to look it from that level. We didn't want to look it from a city level or on a very broader level, but we wanted to look it from a very ward level thing. So our inquiries associated with this problem statement was, is heat actually risk in Shivaji Nagar? So if it is a risk, then what informs that risk? And if it is actually a risk as we speak of, then who are the people who are most vulnerable to it? So we use that approach to actually go on through our observations. So we use 3 data sets actually to come to our findings. So the first one was to calculate the land surface temperature in order to see if heat is actually a risk in this place. So for that, we use the Landsat data from the Google Earth engine. And we actually calculated for April month, which is the hottest month. It was recorded as the hottest month in 2024. And we took the average of that month, the temperature. So this is the map which you're seeing. The underlying is the land surface temperature. So we had a difference of 49 to 50, like 9 degree, almost 9 degree Celsius difference when we consider LST. This is only the land surface temperature. Now we wanted to see is there any other factors contributing to it other than LS. So LS is always about the surface temperatures and the built surface that is contributing. But we wanted to look more closely into the activities that happen in these particular built spaces, because Shivaji Nagar is always known for its commercial activities, and it's grown as a commercial place, without any planning as such. So is there any socio-economic activities which happen in this particular area contribute to the LST there? So for that, we actually mapped by ourselves, using Google Earth Pro and Google satellite data to see the kind of economic activity which contribute to the UHA. So we had the Russell market there, because you can see in the below portion of the this below portion, this where we experienced the most amount of heat, almost 48-49 degrees. So that is where the Russell market and associated places are, and also that's where the traffic junctions meet together. So there is a tri-junction which meet there together. So this is where this pattern which we are given is where all the above average temperature, more than 45 degrees temperature was recorded. So for the also we need to look at if any particular building materials is also contributing more to this. So for that we use the census data, which was 2011 ka data. So it was mostly mixed settlements existed in Shivaji Nagar. So from we were able to see mostly it was a roof, GA aspects and concrete, which was more present in this area and which is more contributing to the heat in the material wise. Now there were other things like I said, the places which we identified as like most heat emitting zones in this. So this is more like a UHA within an UHA, like heat pockets within like a major heat area. So those were mostly the traffic junctions which are meeting to the Russell Market area because of the build density there, and also many narrow roads are there. But we wanted to see further. So further, this is some interesting analysis we came across. So always when we talk about mitigating efforts when it comes to UHA, we will talk about green and blue infrastructure. So a Nala is not a blue infrastructure as it is, because it is a concretized structure and it is concretized for a reason to prevent like the groundwater penetration, infiltration. But so when we did our analysis, this Nala, which was flowing through the Shivaji Nagar, was also situated nearby this heat pocket area, which is the high heat pocket area which we identified. So the Nala can be, because we need to consider the time on which we collected this data, it was April, and the Nala is not every time having water, and even if it is having water, if it is having more solids in it, it won't be flowing also. So there are three reasons which, because when we identified the temperatures across like along this Nala and in the Nala, it recorded more than 45 degrees Celsius throughout. So not in a single area, it was recorded like around 41 or 42 or 43. So we have added the images. So healthy water bodies always act as natural heat sinks due to their high heat capacity and evaporating cooling like potential. But in this case of Nala, because of its concretized nature, it is exacerbating the UHA effect that is already within there. So if you have like a 43 degrees Celsius thing there, you are experiencing it as like 48 or 49. So that's what it is exacerbating to. And another thing is the solids which are there on the Nala, which blocking the flow of the water, it's also contributing to the emission, like GHG emissions, which is also increasing the temperature nearby. So that's not just increasing the land surface temperature, also increasing the air temperature. And can you go to the next slide, Vaidya? Yeah. So that then we asked the question. So we identified that heat is a hazard here, and it has a particular risk in this particular ward, and we identify the reasons which informs this risk. Now coming to the vulnerability, who are the most vulnerable to it? So that's also according to the materials. When we consider the material parts, it's usually the indoor and outdoor, the indoor workers who are most vulnerable to it, because Shivaji Nagar is mostly mixed settlements, and most mixed settlements may work conditions are there, existent mostly. And another thing is the commuters, day-to-day commuters, people who are on the traffic block or like going into the road, which is more congested, and at peak times when they are exposed to heat, like in the morning or afternoon, that is another problem. So they are also in the vulnerability thing. And another thing is the gig and platform workers, who are also, because there is an absence of shaded places in Shivaji Nagar, and you can see the pictures from here. It's always like crowded when you go into the commercial hub area, like in the morning also and the evening time also. So we narrowed down like outdoor and indoor workers, we specified them more, and on the second level, it's the commuters. So if that is the case, then what can be the possible interventions and solutions? This also we wanted, like, what are the immediate solution we can give at like a very ward level, local level thing, and what a broader level in the sense like in a governance thing or like a policy thing. So the kind of intervention when we thought like that came up was like urgent need for a street shade. So urgent need for street shade can come from as a governance point of view as a street shade policy. Now, what this policy is, when you look at the workers, heat is adding to their stress, indoor also, outdoor also, and these are day-to-day workers. If they miss one day of their work, it's affecting them health-wise and also affecting them economic-wise. So it's putting a little bit more economic stress into their life, which is need to be considered. So that can be two things. So first, we need an urgent need for street shade, and who can it be focused on? Sorry, commuters, street vendors, and sanitation gig workers, etc. And when it comes to the outdoor or indoor workers kind of thing, to provide them heat schemes, like this happened. This was done in Gujarat through ICICI and Seva. So heat insurance for outdoor workers. So it can be a different payouts according to, so it can be a ward-wise thing or like a city level thing. Cool roof urban policy, or like if you want, they want to use mud block or something like a substitute for that, a substitute for concrete, like some.
Have we lost Shabari? Audio? Have we lost Shabari's audio? Hello? Or have we lost me?
No, we are not able to. I'm able to hear you, but not him.
Okay. I think anyway, he was probably at the end of the presentation. Ma'am, would you like to have, would you have any remarks on the presentation?
Hello,
And
Vaidya, can you hear me?
yeah, I think
Okay.
we lost your voice, and I think we're also
Okay.
running out of time, Shabri. So
Yeah, like
we'll
I
just
was
wrap it
finished.
up.
I was finished
Yeah.
right, like so. Yeah.
Okay, fine. Cool. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Shabri. Ma'am, any remarks on the presentation and about all the presentations in general? Hello. Preethi ma'am, do you have any remarks on this presentation and about other presentations in all the presentations in general? Okay. Shrimoy, do you want to step in with remarks from WRI's end?
Hi, Vaidya, Opencity team, all other participants and team. I'll step in for a bit, and I'm not sure if Preethi madam is here or she might want to come back later. But thanks very much all the teams for putting together this effort beyond the day of the Datajam and bringing this to a rather interesting form of stories, connecting the dots from where you deep dived into the data sets, brought together certain correlations, and then what does it tell us practically. Interesting observations in terms of roof, building materials, greening, density, land use, land cover. These are along our expected sort of path of what we generally tend to understand about why urban heat, be it heat island, be it land surface temperature or some other index of heat, why that is happening. It was very interesting to actually observe. I think Sharat's team mentioned this, the circulation paths. And I think the last one, Sabari's, his presentation also included gig workers. And that is where I'll also want to make a few comments and observations on why this kind of a data jam and kind of interrogative pathways towards analyzing some of the urban issues or urban issues related to climate change can really help us. So, one of the some of the quick takeaways for this from this kind of studies and data-related investigations. So, for citizens, it is definitely it can bring a sense of awareness and lead towards household level action, individual level actions. For the Climate Action Cell and other agencies, it can definitely lead towards different policies. So we already heard most of the presentations have indicated policies of thermal comfort, on insurance, and also the street shade. Interestingly, in fact, I was hearing one of the presentations a month back, and it said it basically brings out the whole concept of right to shade.
And at the intersection of especially the gig workers, the domestic helps, and it tried in fact changing the notion of what we formally call as peak hour and non-peak hour from a vehicular population density. The report actually tries to, in fact, argue that the notion of peak and non-peak hour will change if we look at just walkability as a indicator of how many people are out. And most of these people who are working to this workplace are the domestic helps, are people who are towards the very bottom line of marginality, the informal workers. And it is the right to shade when they walk on the streets is enormously important, because they also then going home or in the workplace probably live in a environment which is not very friendly to their health. So very interesting observations that and way forwards that came in. I would say that these integrations also build kind of pathways for future collaboration. Some of the results we kind of anticipated, but the data sort of substantiates that. Some of these actually points us towards where we need to interrogate more, and we all know that there is data constraint, especially we have a whole missing census decade. But good news is that, and if it at all comes true, the recent news says that the government is contemplating finishing the next census by 2026. The results may be out by 2026. So some of the methodologies that have been applied in these case studies for all the groups you presented, I think the same methodology then can be taken forward when we have better data. And lastly, I think it helps us not only break myths, but sort of guide us towards more substantiated way forwards at the intersection of informality, the unequal impact of heat. I think all the case studies pointed out towards who are out on the streets, the informality and all. At the same time, what will be important for the city to see on the lines of the climate action plan is to also see how all these different stakeholders ecosystem, including knowledge partners like us and the groups present here, how we can then collaborate not only with each other but with the city agencies in helping them building coping mechanism, especially for the marginalized and the informal sector. So that's where I would stop. I would like to just mention that I particularly see this as a beginning of a longer and continuous effort. And going forward with better data sets with various other geographies within the city. I know that due to time constraints and everything, we just picked up a couple of areas within the city which came up as, more at the intersection of heat and vulnerable and different type, a particular type of land use, land cover. But the investigation should continue for other areas of the city, especially where certain anomalies are very prevalent. So thank you very much. Thanks, Veda, for giving me the opportunity.
Thanks, Srimai. Preethi ma'am, if you're online, do you have any remarks on the presentations in general? Hello. Okay, I think while we wait for her, Manan, do you have anything to add from A-Tree side?
Yeah, I'll just shortly just say a couple of things. Milan couldn't join, unfortunately, so I'll just also sum up for him. I mean, first of all, I'm really happy, and actually, I congratulate all of us to have gone on this journey to do a data jam on heat in Bangalore. I mean, last year or a year and a half ago, when we started working on heat at A3, a question that often would come to us is that does Bangalore really experience heat at all? And I think over the last year or so, at least that question has well and truly been answered, which sort of says that we need to move forward and then adapting to mitigating heat and also helping communities in Bangalore sort of build resilience to heat stress in the city. So I think this is one very good step in that sort of direction. From a data perspective, I think it was really good how actually all of the 4 presentations and all of the participants used the available data, and limited as that might be, in a very, very creative way to bring out very interesting insights. I mean, of course, there are some gaps here and there which could obviously be filled up with more and more data, especially like since the data being updated. But I think all of the participants did a fantastic job in trying to come up with problem statements on their own and actually then trying to solve those problem statements in a very effective manner. I think here it's very important to start documenting the process because right now, let's say this was at a ward level. If we have to scale it up to more wards, I think it's important that the processes that the teams followed could be nicely documented so that every next person or every next team that wants to build on their effort has something to fall back to, and we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. Um, from like a heat perspective, I think some very important insights came out, and definitely we'll be very interested to take that further at A3, especially some of the ward level work in Marapanapalia where we work on. There was stuff on that we would like to explore on outdoor work, on informal settlements, on roofing strategies, on jobs, and stuff like that, and try to explore solutions to them, whether they be more uh, distinctive or whether they may be more systematic, like changing work timings, change in sort of labor laws and labor rules and stuff like that. So there's a lot of solutions out there which are both individual, community, city, government. All of us have a role to play here in terms of starting to solve for some of these problems. And I think we hopefully are well on our way through initiatives like this to solve them. And having Preethi ma'am here is obviously really helpful so that she knows what we're doing and what is the kind of work being done.
Thanks, man. Preethi ma'am, your remarks on the presentations itself and the way forward.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I could not.
Ma'am, you're on mute now.
Audible?
Yeah, now you are.
Hello.
Yeah, now we are audible. Yes. Please go ahead.
Vedya,
Yeah, you're
am
audible
I
now.
audible?
Yeah, you
Okay,
are
okay.
audible.
I had muted, but somehow Ji for organizing this. I heard Sabri also giving the presentation, and it was interesting that he commented on the vulnerable sections as well as he commented on the polluted. It's not that we did not have it. Not have it in our minds that polluted water bodies have less water or heat absorbing capacity, but look at one problem with in a comprehensive manner. So the presentations were really good, and as Mr. Manan, I think he commented that it needs to be scaled up to other wards as well. And Srimoji also summed it really well, saying that these kinds of initiatives are important for the city planners and the departments, the government, to because it acts as a supporting system for us to take better decisions. And it was a good short 1 hour event which we did today, and I think it needs to be scaled up and it has to be brought out brought to notice of other people as well, so that they understand it more clearly. So hoping for more such events. In fact, we were discussing that if we can have this if we can have this data jam events for identifying how to do greening and what are the better ways.
Ma'am, you're
on mute.
Ma'am, you're on mute.
I think there's some issue with the audio because I spoke for some 5 minutes. I'm not sure whether you heard me or not,
No,
but
no, we heard you.
yeah,
We heard you. Only the last few seconds you muted. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. No. I was just saying that we need to work together with all, I mean, with Opencity, if we can work on other areas of, uh, like urban heat islands is one aspect of it. We were also thinking of identifying greening areas in the city, and what are the other aspects which we could look into. Uh, Going ahead, and also we need to scale this up to other wards as well. And one thing is that we need to
Yo.
document it, but when we scale it up to more number of
Ma'am, you're muted again.
Vedya, I'm so sorry. I think there's some network issue, and I'm also getting that notification there's unstable network. But
Okay.
I almost concluded my whatever I had to say. So just again, I would like to thank Opencity and WRI for organizing this entire thing, and thank you so much to the participants who came forward and worked on this entire thing, and they in fact refined the presentations and took time out of their busy schedules to present this to everybody. So thank you to all the participants, and it was really insightful for us as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes. So I think to conclude, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Vijay sir, also for attending this event. Thank you, Shrimoy and Manan also, and for all the participants to actually go back and work more on their presentations and come back with these smaller presentations and present it on a Friday evening. First, you spent a full day Saturday with us, and then Friday evening with us. Thank you very much. Let's see what we can do further with this. And like Manan said, it would be great if we can document this process so that it can be replicated easily by anyone else who wants to go ahead with this. Thank you very much. I think we can conclude the meeting now. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.